Now, we were supposed to have Francis Onyema, who is a presidential aspirant under the banner of the National Rescue Movement, but we were informed that he is in a family meeting that he can't get out of because the family has suffered a bereavement. So he has our condolences. But Arise Politics editor and director of news, Sumner Sambo, is with me now in the studio. Sumner, thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you so much, Charles.
This is one of the reasons why we are happy for you to be the director of news, because
of course,
when things don't go a little bit awry,
they
you're
go
always
south.
there. Yeah, absolutely. Well, when they go south, you take us north. So that's a good thing. So thank you very much indeed for coming in.
You're welcome, Charles.
But let me start by asking you, because we had sort of the last half an hour or so, we had the National Publicity Secretary of this new obedient Kwankwaso movement, sort of the fusion of the two, talking up the movement. But give us your considered analytical assessment. What's your take on that movement and the potential significance that it has at this point?
Yeah, I'm very happy that these groups of supporters are coming together. Not with the support of the potential presidential candidate or vice presidential candidate, but it's been organic.
Indeed.
So you see them appointing their coordinators from states to zonal and then, of course, national. And what we'll be canvassing is transparency in their actions, especially when it has to do with financing. And then, of course, the ability to be able to maintain the rhetoric that will resonate with the public. Because, I mean, what had happened in the last elections, led to lots of people, saying that the obedience were too harsh in their rhetoric. And then, of course, you would have heard Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu saying that, look, he hardly, reads social media because of the way it tends to be too abusive in terms of political
Obviously,
rhetoric.
it's not just obedience.
Yeah, not only them, but tend... if you look at the way the president was talking, you know that that's where he was pointing at. But nonetheless, you've also had very harsh rhetoric coming from the president's supporters against the obedience. And then, of course, they had to fight back. And so this time around, the tone of the rhetoric that should come out of the OK movement, like they are saying at the moment, should be something that's based on, political discourse that actually brings out the best for the country. Why do you think that a potential Obi Kwankwaso ticket will do better than the incumbent? And then what exactly are the issues that you're advancing that will be different in terms of policies, in terms of the politics itself within the ADC or whatever party that they eventually choose to go to? And then, of course, why should Nigeria actually give that ticket a chance? Because these are the narratives that we're counting on, not just coming to say, okay, there's corruption or others in mainstream political parties are not good, or, just pushing aside the APC that they don't matter. Now, in the last elections, Obi had been saying that, the issues of structures were corrupt structures. But now he's been, faced with the realities that you can't become president without having those structures. And the supporters have seen the importance of having structures. That's why you're seeing them coming together to say that, look, even if Obi wouldn't want to have structures himself, nonetheless will serve as the backup to whatever political structure that will be coming up. And I really love this because it's a handshake across the Niger. You're having people who politically, over the last 10 to 20 years, have been aside, apart, coming together. If you listen to...
So it's a hopeful sign, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a hopeful sign, and I'm really happy for it because there's some sort of healing that's coming within Nigerian politics. Because if you look at the rhetoric that comes from the East politically and the rhetoric that comes from the North politically, actually it's not been held in the past 2 decades. And so if people can organically arrange themselves and promote a ticket that maybe even Obi and Kwankwaso are not even talking about at the moment, I think it's something that's very good. And I will encourage this sort of organic support to come out of the APC, come out of maybe PDP if they're able to solve their problems or so. Because it mustn't be about the political actors, but it could be about the aspiration of what their followers think is the best for the country. And so set an agenda for the potential candidacy of an Obi and Kwankwaso and say, see, even if you do get this ticket, it's not about you. It's about how we want our country,
indeed,
to be in the future.
Right. So, I mean, you mentioned the president a number of times there, and of course the APC. The president has been meeting the APC governors. I'm going to get to that in a minute, but let's round off with the Peter Obi bit, because you were telling me earlier Peter Obi was in Bauchi today meeting the governor Bala Mohammed, who I'm told now describes himself as a freelance
politician.
What is your reading of all that?
Very interesting perspective, and it reminds me of 2022 when I was in that company of Obi where we went around the country, myself with him. The very first place we went to was Bauchi, where we had to even visit the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, mausoleum. And, some of the visuals about Obi, whenever I take a look at them, I'll see that very first act that Obi took, going around there, and then seeing him going there today again, but this time around not going alone, not going with a few people. When we went there in 2022, Obi was relatively unknown, though the governor hosted him then. But now, Obi was going to the same state, and this time around, going with huge, political weight, and then very strong politicians. I saw the likes of Ben Obi there. The former Abia State Senator, Senator Nyenanya Baribe, and some very top, leaders from the Southeast there, including our own professor, who, you've been featuring here. You will see that delegation was actually very, very strong. Very, very strong. And I'm thinking that the rhetoric that will come out of that meeting will be something that will help to forge an alliance between the North and the South, especially the Southeast. Build bridges more, and then help, to reduce this tension, this friction that we've always had. Look, Charles, the best political alliances that we've always had in the country between the North and South have always been between the North and the Southeast.
That is true.
From the First Republic.
So that's people like Shagari and
in the First Republic, we had Nnamdi Azikiwe, with the Ahmadu Bellos of this world and Tafawa Balewa. And then in the Second Republic, we had Alex Ekweme alongside, Shehu Shagari, having that ticket. And then, even when we had Buhari, 2003, he tried to actually bring, the likes of the former Senate president, and then you also had Okadigbo, and then you had Umeo Zoke, the former speaker, also
but
being
even
given the
Atiku,
opportunity.
Atiku Abubakar also had the same
So
sort
you
of
see
alliance.
that, there's always been that arrangement there. If you look at Atiku Abubakar's political philosophy too, he's always had, the likes of Ben Obi around him. And then I watched an interview recently where Ben Obi was saying that in the past, Atiku Abubakar would come and spend his Christmas period in the East. And, those are the kind of mature politics that we need at this moment, not the kind of rhetoric that comes out and it looks like Nigeria is going to war, and then some people are saying that, look, the Southeast will never be given an opportunity. When I saw Peter Obi at the government house in Bauchi, I was really happy because he was received, wholeheartedly. And then Bala Mohammed saying he's a freelance politician now. No team is willing to sign him at the moment. APC hasn't signed him.
I like that.
Yeah,
so he's a free agent.
Yeah, he's a free agent, a free moral agent. PDP, is scattered, and ADC too, he's not been able to settle it.
Well, so let's just, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we've literally got a minute or so left. The president has been meeting with APC governors. What was the substance of that meeting?
Well, he clearly stated that he doesn't want to rancor primaries. So he's asking for a rancor-free primaries, asking them to go back there, and then for the party to, take any measure that it can in terms of whether adopting direct primaries or the issues of consensus. Because APC has come to realize that the issue of consensus will not play out in all states. And so the best way to prevent political tension is to actually embrace the idea of having direct primaries to resolve some teething issues. Because some of the politicians are saying that they prefer to be defeated than for them to have someone imposed. You would have seen what's happening in Ogun State at the moment, where Senator Yayi is actually facing lots of opposition, despite the fact that President Tinubu has agreed that he should be the, APC governorship candidate. Potentially, there's a consensus. Look at what's happening in Nasarawa too with Ahmed Wadada. You see that there's a problem that consensus cannot solve. So the best way would be to go to direct primaries and resolve those issues. But for states where there's a huge consensus, then of course the president will be able to have his way, the governors will have his way. But overall, what he said is that the governors must be allowed the opportunity to, have their way in terms of the tickets for the senatorial and House of Reps, right, because he cannot impose automatic tickets for Senate and House of Reps on these people when the governors are there. And I think Mr. President, is trying to be highly political here to safeguard his own interest, because his election will come first before that of the governors.
Indeed. Sumner, you're a star.
Thank you so much.
And I think you deserve an award. But I know you just got an award recently anyway. So you're all right for the moment.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. Sumner Sambo is Arise Politics Editor and Director of News. That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja and Lagos, bye-bye and thank you for watching.